Hey guys, welcome to Denny's. Today we are going to be looking at an Ines build post Nerf. And first and foremost, more specifically, I just want to say that Ines is still probably the strongest mobbing descendant in the game. So take that as you will. I'll discuss everything in the video to come. But yeah, I want to put that out there first and foremost. She's probably still the best mobbing descendant. Very close to Freyna. I think that she's a little bit better than Freyna, and she's still extremely fun. There's a few ways it changes up. But yeah, we're going to jump into it. Like the video if it helped out. Subscribe to the YouTube if you feel that I've earned it. And then follow me over on Twitch. We're live right now doing this video, so I'd love to see you guys over there on Twitch. We're going to be building all these descendants out and stuff like that over there. So yeah, follow me over there, and let's jump into... what's her name? Ines. All right, so I'm going to be kind of putting background gameplay in while I'm kind of yapping about stuff, but I will be showing the build kind of as well. So first we're going to start off with the Descendant modules. So for the Descendant modules, I want to say, first and foremost, not much has changed. However, there is some other ways you can play her. So what I decided to do for mobbing is basically not change her at all. Obviously, we changed amplification control instead of the maximum range, which was basically giving us like less power modifier. But with the changes to, or with the Arche tree and also the inversion reinforcement, we get enough range for this to be completely fine to use, and we don't lose any skill power. So that's the big thing, is make sure you're running amplification control instead of the maximized range. Other than that, focus on tech, focus on electric, increased HP, like the very similar stuff. Time of the Hunting Hounds, Nimble Fingers MP conversion, the crit without skill insight because we don't need it. So yeah, a lot of the same stuff that we used before. Basically just maximizing the critical damage that she does, because obviously she's a critical based descendant, and we're trying to maximize that as well as get as high cooldown as we can. So I want to discuss her fourth ability. So her fourth ability received a massive nerf. It was from 30 seconds to 90 seconds. So basically, instead of a 3-second stack charge, it's a 9-second stack charge if you're using 90% cooldown, which is close to what we're using in this build. I believe actually we do get 90% or like 87% or so. So it's like right around a 10-second cooldown. However, the other changes were... for some reason, not like people aren't focusing on them. They're being really negative and think this is like an unplayable character. Now she's completely broken. You'll see the background footage. Like, she's still completely overpowered. She's like I said, I consider Freyna broken, and she's above Freyna. In certain cases, obviously Freyna is better, and in certain cases Ines is better. In certain cases, Lepic can be more like better. Like for bosses, for example, Lepic's probably going to do better on every single boss than Ines, or maybe not. I don't know. It's really just depending on the scenario you're in. All I know is you can use different descendants for different things, and that's the whole goal, I think, of this nerf, even though I think that she is still very good. Her second ability, basically, the damage was doubled, and the damage range also is massive, and it now does damage to more monsters. So basically... the more you max your range, the more damage it does, and it basically clears packs. It clears up to 10 enemies when you press it. So the whole idea of the new build, and the new playstyle, is that instead of running around mindlessly pressing your first ability and fourth ability, you're actually going to press an ability other than those. It's going to be your second ability, Lightning Conductor, but it nukes yellow bars. It absolutely nukes them, and that's fun, right? You don't have to like just mindlessly do stuff. You can actually focus on, you don't have to focus on what you're doing necessarily, but you have a better way and less clunky way to play her, in my opinion. And I think that it does very big damage. It's very fun to use. And yeah, she's still just as good. It's just that maybe the clear times might slow down by like 10 to 20 seconds. So I want to put that out there with the changes to the setup. So obviously her first ability nerfed, her fourth ability nerfed, small amount of damage nerf, but her second ability buffed in damage. Very, very good. Very good now. So definitely press that button. That's going to be the big change, is you're actually going to press your second ability. But yeah, that is the mobbing build. I want to quickly go over the bossing build that I have. So I don't think that Ines is like by any means the best bosser. I don't really use her for bossing ever. I jumped in with like a wonky setup on inversion reinforcement, and I was still one-phasing like all the bosses up to like Molten Fortress. And I'm sure you can one-phase Molten Fortress if you're not me. I just didn't really want to keep putting the time into doing bossing with Ines because I don't use her for bossing. I would use somebody like Haley or Glay, or even Serena now. Serena one-shots like every boss. If Serena ever gets nerfed, I would probably just go back to Glay, or maybe I go to like Lepic or Haley, because they just burst all the bosses down very quickly and easily, especially Molten Fortress. But I'll throw in clips of like the bosses I was killing. You can one-phase pretty much every boss. I have no doubt you can one-phase Molten Fortress. Deathstalker is a different story, but you will be able to do good damage to Deathstalker because it is weak to electric. However, it is like I think it's a little bit better to just run in there with Serenas right now if you want to get that killed again. But yeah, the bossing build, basically the only thing we're changing out is hyper focus. So instead of using, I believe it's like increased HP, we throw in hyper focus, and everything else is the exact same, other than I actually failed and I wasn't using, actually was using the incorrect crit mod. We use emergency measures instead of skill insight. That was probably the big issue that I was having when I wasn't one phasing. But yeah, that is the bossing build for Ines, and it makes it, you can do everything with this Descendant, and it's pretty easy. So there's a setup for bossing. Let's talk about the Reactor. So the Reactor depends on what you're doing, but obviously cooldown is very important. So I went for cooldown and critical hit damage. He's a critical hit, focus Descendant. So critical hit damage and cooldown, that's all you need to know for the Reactor. It needs to be tech and electric, so the Tingling Mechanics Reactor. For bossing, I have one that is, what is it? I believe, yeah, so it's critical hit damage Colossus. However, I think that cooldown Colossus might be better if you want to get your bosses done a bit easier. However, if you take a look, we'll go into the Inversion Reinforcement momentarily, and you can see there's that's the reason why you don't really need cooldown, because there's a little node we're going to take in there that actually makes it so you just have max cooldown anyway. But let's take a look at the components for Ines. So people have swapped their components to using Hunter, but I'm still using Slayer. So with the Slayer setup, obviously you get the 26% skill power. It's pretty big. But the cooldown without Hunter is 0.87. We can get 0.9, so 90% cooldown. So we're down about 3% cooldown, which at the end of the day is costing us right around like 2 seconds on our 2.5 seconds on our fourth ability. It takes that much. So if you want to use Hunter, you'll gain a about 2.7 seconds exactly on the cooldown of your fourth ability. If you just want to spam your fourth ability, that will be the one to use. It'll be the Hunter set mixed with whatever else you want to use. You could just do HP. You could do Annihilation for a little bit more duration. People also run like Veterans Tactics and stuff, but I will explain why I don't think Veterans Tactics is going to be what I use. It's because I actually think that I was talking about this earlier, but the second ability is very fun to press and very good to press now. You press it, it does very good damage. If you run Veterans Tactics, you're going to be resetting cooldowns. You're not only going to be resetting your fourth ability, you're going to be resetting like Lightning Conductor and Floating Lightning every 5 seconds. And their cooldowns are already like 1 second, 2 seconds. So in my opinion, there's no reason to run Veterans Tactics if you plan on using the second ability ever, or the first ability. I think that Veterans Tactics definitely has a place. You can use it if you just want to use your fourth ability, and you can figure out a way to do that. But for me personally, I like running around and using the second ability now. You just do a ton of damage. Super fun to do. And yeah, the second ability absolutely pumps damage out. That is why I'm not using Veterans Tactics. And that is the Slayer set. Again, totally use the Hunter set if you want for the 2-piece for the cooldown to get you that extra 2.7 seconds, but I'm not doing that. Let's discuss the weapon. Stays the same. Secret Garden, more or less. The only thing that I'll say about the weapon, as I like kind of showcase the mods, is I'm building it for movement speed. I rarely shoot it. I do shoot it. It does decent damage. It's very high crit rate, very good gun. But I'm basically using it for move speed. We've got Brisk Walk proccing on it whenever we need that extra 24% for 10 seconds with a 5-second cooldown, because you have a 10-second uptime there. And then I am using on the core's grappling hook charge time, and also I'm using sprint speed. So we have right around 1100 sprint speed, but then when Brisk Walk procs, which is basically 66% of the time, obviously uptime, you are getting maximum move speed. If you don't want Brisk Walk, you can go into the inversion tree, which we'll go into in a sec. But yeah, firearm critical hit damage, and then I have Legion of Darkness damage, but you don't really need that. And then for the weapon rolls on it, I have critical hit rate at firearm attack, critical hit damage, and then Legion of Darkness. Literally just have this because I was testing it in Void Erosion when it first came out, but there's no need to run any of this. I would change Legion of Darkness basically just to like weak point or some element maybe. I don't know. Probably weak point, to be honest, just because it'll do the most damage. But yeah, Secret Garden, stat stick, more or less. The main reason we use it is for its unique ability. The unique ability is the Gardener. Basically, every time you use an ability, you have a 50% chance to gain a stacking 16% skill power buff. That is really, really good with Ines because she uses tech abilities. So yeah, that is why we're using Secret Garden for that. And then we'll jump into the inversion reinforcement. So for the inversion reinforcement, keep in mind, I jumped in like right away and I had not made any changes to my inversion reinforcement. I literally was running like the malevolent cogs, and then I was running like stuff that basically didn't even matter. If you want to run stuff that matters for bossing, make sure that you take electric focus rounds, because the electric focus rounds mixed with hyper focus in our bossing tree will make it so that whenever we are starting a boss, you obviously have to shoot, right? So you shoot, make sure that they get the electric shred. They're basically debuffed to take more damage from your electric abilities, and you get that critical hit, that 46% skill critical hit damage. So that synergizes with that for bossing. But if you're not bossing and we go into the inversion reinforcement tree, all you could do is just run something like selective cellular simulation or adrenaline rush. If you don't want to run brisk walk on your secret garden, adrenaline rush could potentially get you to that 1300. I'm not too sure on the math there. I think 16% will get you to the 1300 from 1100. But yeah, you can run selective neurostimulation. You can run anything. If you want to increase your HP, you can run biodensity augmentation. The big one that I want to mention, this is for bossing and like in general, is if you're not running the hunter set, if you want the extra 3% cooldown every now and then, you can run Arche Circulation Tactic. This has a pretty big cooldown of 25 seconds, but you get a 24% skill cooldown for 10 seconds. So if you're bossing, you could honestly consider like taking off the 2 focus on mods and just use this, because you're overcapping on cooldown anyway. So you can do a little bit more damage if you want to boss and use this, and then there you go, you're doing more damage. Or you could just run like, if you want to do damage with your gun or, the other stuff, you could run Neural Focus. But I don't think Neural Focus is really necessary because we don't really need any more MP on her. We've maxed out the crit with the Arche tree, which the Arche tree I will get into next. But yeah, that's the inversion reinforcement. That's what we're using. Pretty much Arche Circulation. The 3 I would recommend using are Arche Circulation, maybe if you're going bossing, Void Resistance, but if you're not, Biodensity Augmentation, and then Electric Focus rounds to get the Hyper Focus stacking if you're bossing. If you're not bossing, go with like Selective Neurostimulation, and that'll be what you do for the setup for the inversion. But let's jump over to the Arche Tuning. So the Arche Tuning, it's pretty straightforward. Mine might not be the same as some other people's. I know that there might be like easier ways to get through, but simply put, this is all you really need to do in my opinion. You can change out some of these things and go for max HP if you feel like it. You can like go a different route and go for max HP. Basically what I've done is I've gone for as much crit as I can get and as much critical damage as I can get. So obviously you go up in the tree here. From there you get your critical hit rate, then you get your critical hit damage, and then from there cooldown, because with Ines now, obviously, you want as much cooldown as you can get unless you're using Veteran's Tactics, which, again, not really recommended in my opinion. And then you run the Max MP to get some of the critical hit chance up, which is really nice because that gets us, like, I'm pretty sure 100% or, like, 99% critical hit chance without using Skill Insight, I want to say. And then you've got your Skill Power, Enhanced Skill Power, Range, which is very important to run Amplification Control here at the bottom, and then you've got the Enhanced Skill Power for the extra 600. We've taken all the purple nodes for Skill Power and basically all the purple nodes for crit damage and critical hit chance. And yeah, it's simply put just for as much damage output as we can get, and then a little bit of cooldown. It already made her better before. With the nerfs, when we're talking about the nerfs, this helps a little bit. At the end of the day, she's still very good. And she's one of the fastest Descendants as far as like clear times and stuff. But yeah, that is the setup. I hope that you guys can let me know in the comments what you think. There's been a lot of negativity surrounding Ines because of these nerfs. A lot of people just instantly started kind of freaking out and saying that she was going to be unplayable. They spent money on skins, all that stuff, yada yada. In my humble opinion, which obviously opinions, it is what it is. She's still very good, and actually I would consider her overpowered because there's a lot of Descendants that you wouldn't use over her, pretty much everyone in the game other than maybe Bunny and Freyna. And yeah, she's very strong still and actually adds like a new element of gameplay using that second ability. So I want to know what you guys think in the comments after kind of seeing what she can do. I know some people will still be upset. I apologize. Nexon, I think, could have nerfed her way worse. They could have not buffed her second ability at all, and yeah, that definitely would have been questionable, I think. But I think it still maybe would have been warranted. She's like the 90% of what people play just because of how efficient she is, and I think a lot of people just need to start playing other Descendants, like Keelan, for example, with the recent buffs, and experience the game in maybe like a different light. You might have a little bit of fun, but again, just my opinion, which might not always be the best, but there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something and maybe enjoy Ines a little bit more. But yeah, like the video if it helped. Again, subscribe to the YouTube and follow me over on Twitch. We did this live. Love to see you guys over there. But yeah, you guys have a great rest of your day, night, wherever you're at. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Goodbye.